is Arunava Chaudhuri and you are on my YouTube channel, Arunfoot. We have to once more talk about the All India Football Federation and how they come to their decisions. It looks like that the current AIFF has not understood in its now nearly 35 months in charge, in control, on how you need to run a federation, but also more importantly, how do you come to decisions. The process in which Khalid Jamil was chosen was flawed from the start to the finish. If I make a public announcement and say in that announcement in regard to what my qualifications need to be, I need to have a certain level of international coaching experience. Simple, right? A lot of coaches simply don't qualify. Supposedly 170 qualified. Now the question is, after the whole Xavi instance, how many of the other profiles sent in were not even sent in by those who were claiming to be, or sent in by agents, but just were sent in? So that's a question in itself. So therefore, there is already a flaw in that process. And the second thing is that when you say that this is part of your strategy, but we know that the president of the All India Football Federation has multiple times said, you know what, we need to promote Indian talent, we need to promote Indian coaches, this and everything. And this is something that is like a caveat to the Indian coaches in the system, especially the older ones who are trying to promote each other. This is the nexus which has been around. Then we get the result Khalid Jamil in the end. If Khalid was qualified or not, that's a different question. And there I've also clearly said, to me, no, he's not, in the way he operates, in the way he sets up his teams, how he interacts. Khalid, I don't think, is the right choice. But if I set the criteria of international experience, then yes, Stephen Constantine qualifies for that. Stefan Tarkovic qualifies for that. And there are a few others who had applied, just to name two, Antonio Lopez Habas and Peter Segat. They qualify because they have coached international teams at some stage in their life. But the question then is, if we're going to fall back into these 50s and 60s of the last century and hype up ourselves in a situation where alarm bells should be ringing 24/7 at Football House with everything that is happening. The whole thing is literally collapsing. The whole thing is literally imploding. And we are bothered about things in a way that you think, this is not going to work. And it makes me angry. Then I think, what else do I expect? Then I sometimes feel dejected. Sometimes I feel, why bother about this? But for love and passion for Indian football will always keep me going. I will point out things that are wrong. In the past, I pointed it out to the people in person. Did they change things? Sometimes they did. Sometimes they didn't. But at least, we had a conversation on things. Now we're in a situation that people are in charge, people are advising, who are not in a position to do that. Because the learnings of the last 35 months need to be that saying I am an ex-player, saying I'm a former coach, saying I work in club football or in an academy is not going to be enough. Governance of sports is very complex in itself. Governance of sports in an Indian context is even more complex, more complicated, and therefore needs to be looked at and handled in a different way. The AIFF constitution is still in the hands of the Supreme Court. The sports bill is still not cleared. And the question is, with all these things happening outside of what the AIFF themselves are doing, are we moving in the right direction? This is what I call on all Indian football fans to raise questions on social media or when you meet people. It doesn't have to be just the AIFF. You should ask people in the state affairs, in the district affairs. You should ask people involved in clubs and academies. You should ask the coaches, the players. How are you all contributing to the betterment of Indian football? They care about themselves, right? People say, I'm doing this for India. No, you're not doing this for India. You guys are doing it mainly for yourselves. At least be honest, right? If the system, if the stakeholders realized in what a catastrophic state we are in at this moment in time, everybody would come together and say, you know what? We need drastic change. We need dramatic change. We need to safeguard the future of Indian football. My example that I like to use in my lives is we've gone into a black hole, and that black hole, we're not trying to turn around and get out of it again. We're going deeper and deeper into that black hole. And the problems are becoming more and more, they're becoming more complex. And people don't seem to recognize basic things. The contract of the MRA is a good example. I raised this topic 2 years ago with a number of people. Said, you know what? India's just won the SAF Cup, 3 tournaments in a row. Things look good. Now's the time to negotiate. Even though I also said we didn't play that great football because, you need sometimes the factor of luck. The question again to me is, who will stand up? Even in that AIFF executive committee, why are people not standing up? There are enough people who I know, who know better. Why are you not standing up against the president? Why are you not speaking out of the gross mistakes? Why are you not doing this for Indian football, but also for yourself? In Indian football, the biggest problem to me is not corruption. The biggest problem is there are a lot of power-hungry people who want to be in control, want to be in charge, want to be also in charge of sometimes of the narratives. They don't care about anything else. Because that is sometimes more important to them than anything else. Without the right leadership, within the AIFF, within the stakeholders, within the system, things are going to get worse. And it is very, very worrying for me at the moment to see. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you've got something to add? Write those things down in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe. Arunfoot here on YouTube. Visit my other social medias. Visit arunfoot.com. And I'll be back very, very soon asking more questions, trying to explain more things. Come back. This is Arunava Chaudhuri. Bye for now.